Hello there YouTube, it's Gojira Prime with another Transformers video review, and today we're looking at a figure I just literally got yesterday, and that is Transformers Generation Selects Super Megatron. Now, I pre-ordered this figure months ago when I first saw the original promotional images for the figure. Absolutely fell in love with it. And it's because of this figure that I actually also went on and bought the Generation Select Star Convoy, which was actually one of the very first videos that I ever did. So today what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this toy. We're going to compare it to the Galvatron figure from the Titans Returns line, as this is a repaint and a very heavy remold of that figure, and then we'll do some size comparisons as well. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Super Megatron, Super Megatron was the version of Megatron from the Battlestars manga comic towards the end of the 1980s and the end of the G1 era in Japan. Basically, it was a follow-up to the Headmasters cartoon, and in the manga, Galvatron is brought back to life as Megatron, and then ultimately turned into this figure, which is Super Megatron. Now, this figure is a triple changer. It is a jet, which you can see here right now at the moment, and it is also a tank, as well as the robot mode, which comes with a couple of different facial expressions, shall we say. So we'll start with the figure in its jet mode, and I have to admit I really do actually quite like this jet mode. Now, it's not a very practical jet in any way, shape or form. It's about as aerodynamic as a brick, but it is a really, really nice jet mode. You've got this long section here at the front, which is actually Megatron's cannon in robot mode and tank mode. And then you've got these kind of like missile launchers or lasers on the front. The wings, which fold up quite nicely here as well. And you've also got, his feet here at the back, which form the engine for the jet as well. These bits here are the treads when he's in tank mode. Now, my only real complaint about the jet mode itself, and I'll just bring the camera down a bit so you can get a better look, is that unfortunately it does not have any landing gear. Sorry. There we go. It does not have any landing gear, so it's essentially just sitting on itself there, which is a bit of a shame because I do like to have landing gear on these things because it just makes them better to display with. But saying that, the Galvatron figure had exactly the same issue in its so-called jet mode or fighter mode, in that it didn't have any landing gear either. So that's the figure in jet mode. It is, it's really, really nice to look at. It's got this whole kind of late 80s Japanese anime, manga style to it, which I really, really like. And it's very, very appealing to me personally. So, yeah, I really do like this jet mode. I think it's very, very nice. I love the color combination, the gray, the black, the red. You've got this very dark kind of like mustard yellow cockpit section there. You can't put anything in that, by the way. It's just a piece of painted plastic, but it's all really quite nice. Really, really enjoyable. I would just flip it. You do get a bit of robot syndrome on the bottom, but I can live with that. Now, just to compare him with his original mold, which was the Galvatron from Titans Return, this is the Galvatron figure in its jet mode. And unless you knew that this was a retool of this figure, you would think they were two completely different figures. I mean, they look nothing alike in any way, shape, or form. I mean, the fact that they called this thing a spaceship is quite frankly ridiculous, but there you go. I mean, they are just, to put them side by side like this, and if I just bring the camera up and angle it down a bit, there you go. They look nothing alike. This is such a heavy retool that it's practically a different figure. It really is quite bizarre. But, there you go. I mean, this thing is practically never in vehicle mode, so it's never in this mode normally. But, this is the amount of retooling done to turn this into this means this is practically a whole new figure. So what I'll do is I'll pause the video, I'll get Megatron changed into his tank mode, and then we'll compare the two figures again. Okay, so now we have Megatron transformed into his second vehicle mode, which is a sci-fi futuristic triple-barreled tank. I have to admit, I quite like the tank mode. It's basically Megatron just sprawled out on the floor with his legs spread a bit open. But all in all, it's actually quite a nice little sci-fi tank mode. I actually get a kind of a Dark of the Moon vibe for some reason. Not Dark of the Moon, Revenge of the Fallen vibe, sorry, from this particular tank mode. But all in all, I really do like the tank mode. It's different from other tank modes that I've seen in other toy lines. But yeah, it's really quite nice. The cannon is now divided. You split the front section of the cannon in half, and then you take this triple-barreled section, which is stored inside, and flip it out to make the cannon. The turret is movable, which is nice. You get a full 360-degree rotation. The wings from the plane mode fold up very, very nicely underneath. So everything is tucked away. There's no parts forming or anything like that. Everything's folded out or folded in and nicely tucked away to use. Again, the grey, black, and red color combination really does work very, very well for the character and for the mold itself. So it looks really, really good, essentially. I really like it. It's not my favorite of the vehicle modes, if I'm honest. My favorite is the jet mode. But yeah, the tank mode is very, very nice as well, if you are wanting to display it in tank mode. Now, again, a quick comparison with its original mold, which is Galvatron. And there we have Galvatron in his cannon mode. Again, it's such a massive retool, to go from this to this. It is really quite extraordinary what they did. This is literally a brand new figure. Not a retool, but in my eyes, a brand new figure for the most part. This is my favorite vehicle mode for the Galvatron, obviously, because it's Galvatron and this big red, this big purple cannon. But yeah, it's a massive, massive retool on the toy at the end of the day, and it's very impressive what they were able to get done. Now, if the rumors are true, we should be getting a new Galvatron in the Kingdom line. I'm hoping we are, because this figure does have one massive problem with it, and I think most people know what that is. But I'll review this properly at some point down the road. But there they are in vehicle mode. Again, really, really nice tank mode. Really nice color combinations. But yeah, I like it. So what we'll do now is we'll get the toy put into robot mode, and we'll do another quick comparison. Okay, so now we have Super Megatron transformed into his final configuration, which is his robot mode. And I have to say, this robot mode is absolutely fantastic. They really, really did an amazing job with this guy. Now, I've only seen images of the Super Megatron on the TF Wikipedia, and this thing is absolutely spot on the money for what the character looks like in that particular manga. Now, bearing in mind, there was never a toy made of Super Megatron before. This is the only time this version of the character has had a toy, and it looks absolutely fantastic. It really does. It's a very, very stylized Megatron, particularly in the face sculpt. I'll get this to focus up. Will it focus up? There we go. So it is very, very stylized, especially in the face sculpt. You know, it does look like more of an anime style Megatron, which I think is absolutely brilliant to look at. And like I said before, although this is meant to be a retool of the Titans Return Galvatron, it is pretty much it's pretty much the Galvatron figure from the feet to the torso section here. That is identical to Galvatron. Everything from the waist up, totally different, completely new, more or less. The exception is the arms. They are the same arms, but they have been retooled quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, this thing is absolutely gorgeous to look at. Everything tucks away, everything folds away, everything is nice and neat and clean, and it just looks absolutely fantastic. Now, how I display my figure is pretty much as you see here. The wings you can have out. These do fold, you know, you can have these back out if you want them, just very, very simply by, if I can get this right, there we go, by unfolding them like this on his back. And I think you are meant to have them like this if you do have him in his Super Megatron mode, but I don't particularly like having it displayed like this. The wings take up a fair bit of space on the shelf when he's like this. You can also flip around the chest piece. You just open it, flip it, and then you've got an entirely new chest piece. And again, you do this when you have him in the Super Ultra Megatron mode, I think it is. You can change his face around as well, like you can on the old Universe Blitzwing, and you do get a face which is very, very similar to the face that Megatron had in Transformers 5, I believe. Although I've never actually seen that movie, so I can't really comment, say if that's true or not. But I'll just fold his wings back up because that's the way I like them. They just fold away very, very neatly like that, which is really, really nice because, you know, thing to do. So, but yeah, this is pretty much how I have him when he's on the shelf. I prefer this chest plate design to this chest plate design. But yeah, he's really, really good. You know, you've got these wing sections or front stabilizers, whatever they were in his jet mode. They're now on his shoulders. The cannon is on his arm here, or you can have it on the arm here on this, in these peg holes. This is probably the one complaint I do have about the figure in robot mode. With the Earthrise Megatron figure, and with pretty much all other Megatron figures to date, the cannon has been attached to the arm as a fixed piece, or you can attach it as a fixed piece. And then when he moves his arm, you know, the cannon moves with it. This isn't necessarily the case with this because the cannon can move independently. So, you know, you can have the cannon up here, but you can still move his arm up and down. That's probably my one little complaint about the figure in his robot mode. But aside from that, I absolutely adore this thing in robot mode. I think I said in my previous video with Earthrise Megatron that the Earthrise Megatron was now my favorite Megatron. That's now been supplanted after only a couple of weeks by the arrival of this guy. This is now my favorite Megatron figure. But it won't be sitting in my collection with my Generation 1 Decepticons. I'm still going to keep the Earthrise Megatron for that because that's a Generation 1 Megatron. This is kind of like my alternate universe, ultimate version of Megatron. But yeah, I absolutely adore this thing. I think it really is a fantastic looking figure. It's got great articulation. It just looks fantastic. Now, to stop me from rambling on any further, here he is next to the Transformers Titans Returns Galvatron figure. Now, this version of Galvatron, I have got a third-party helmet, which I got from Shapeways, because the helmet feature for this figure is awful. It really, really is. They made this version of Galvatron a headmaster, which I'm not very fond of, and the snap-out mask feature, which is stored in the chest of this figure, I really do hate as well. So I had to get a third-party helmet, and I got this one off Shapeways. Now, unfortunately, I've not been able to get it to color match Galvatron very well, but I'll go into that in another video another time. But to get back to this, they are very, very, very different figures. The torso section here down, or the waist section, I should say, sorry, down, they are identical in pretty much every way. The only major difference, really, aside from some slight molding details, is that on Galvatron, you just have a flat plastic panel to cover up the hole in his legs, while on Megatron, you have the treads from his tank mode, which are stored in his legs instead, which is a far better use of them, in my opinion. Obviously, Galvatron has this section here on his back. Megatron does not. He has his wings instead. There's no treads on Megatron's arms, where there are treads on Galvatron's arms. But yeah, the torso sections are just so different. I mean, they're even a different shape. So this whole section here, this whole section here is a completely different piece to this section here. So this is practically a whole brand new toy. Although it does borrow elements from the Galvatron figure, it's practically a whole new toy, which is, really, really fantastic. So just to do a couple of other comparisons, we'll just take Galvatron out the way. Here he is next to my Transformers Earthrise Galvatron figure, which I did only a few days ago. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to take his cannon off just to make this a bit easier. So that's the modern Earthrise G1 interpretation of Galvatron that we have at the moment. And then this is the Selects version based on the final interpretation of Megatron in the Japanese G1 continuity. And again, you can tell that this is you can tell they're both Megatron at the end of the day. But this is a much, I'm going to say prettier. This is a much prettier figure than what this guy is. Yeah, I mean, this is so much more stylized than this one. But they're both great figures, don't get me wrong. I love this figure. This is my G1 Megatron figure on my collection at the moment. But this is this is a very nice figure as well. It's much more stylized. It's got a bit more detail to it as well. But yeah, they're about the same height. Selects Megatron is a little bit taller than this guy, but I think Earthrise has more bulk to him. This feels heavier than this. I mean, I know he's got his cannon and his other weapon on at the moment, but even when he's not got these on, this still feels heavier than this figure. So this Megatron, has more bulk than this Megatron. So we're just going to... So again, very, two nice figures, very different versions of the same character, but very, very nice. And then the comparison that really only matters, really. Here he is next to Transformers Selects Star Convoy. Now, originally, and I said this in my video when I reviewed Star Convoy a good few months ago, I wasn't going to get Star Convoy. I had no interest in Star Convoy whatsoever because I knew nothing about the Japanese Battlestars comic books. This figure I fell in love with, and I said to myself, if I'm going to get Megatron, I may as well get Optimus Prime. And it took me a few months to find Optimus Prime as well. He was sold out practically everywhere. I got my pre-order in very, very early for Megatron, and I'm really glad I did because, it's an absolutely fantastic figure. It looks great. The transformation is actually really quite easy, and I've just fallen in love with it. It is now my favorite Megatron figure, G1 wise, in my collection. And these two on the shelf together look absolutely amazing. I do think that this, however, is the standout figure for the Selects line so far. Although they say it's a retool, it is practically a whole new figure, and I know I've said that a few times now. This is probably the number 2 figure in the Selects line that I've seen so far. I'm not getting every figure in the Selects line because I can't afford every figure in the Selects line. In fact, I've had to cancel 1 or 2 pre-orders recently, just because I decided not to get that character because it just didn't mean anything to me ultimately. But yeah, if you can get Super Megatron, get him, because he's going to sell out with the online retailers so fast, and then you're going to find him on eBay for 3 times more than what he was originally. This is the problem I had with Star Convoy. On most websites, he was double, triple the price of what he was when he first came out, and it took me forever to find a decent priced version of him. So if you can get him, and if you're interested in this version of Megatron, or a bit of a niche Megatron, get this guy. He's well worth the money. I know he's 50 quid, maybe 60 quid in places, but he is definitely worth the money and well worth picking up. And if you can get him with Star Convoy, even better, because the two on the shelf together look absolutely fantastic. So that's my very quick review and my thoughts on Super Megatron. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, comment below, and have a very good day.